Well, a very good morning to you all from high above start finish at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. This is the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com. We're live on DriversEye Live for round 5 of the 2021 championship season, race 1 of the weekend here at Barber. My name is Brendan Kazmarek, joined this morning by JT Tammy. Good morning, JT.
Good morning.
Happy to have your company as always, JT, and we'll be joined by Dustin Hodges from Right Turn Racing TV from the grid here in just a couple of moments' time. The chirping birds means we're just a little past sunrise, 8 o'clock local time, or just before anyway. First session of this fine Sunday morning. It'll be a little hot later on, but for now it's a great morning to get some racing going. A quick 25-minute sprint to start our pair of races this weekend. Qualifying yesterday. Saw Alex Mayer land his number 77 JDR on pole, just ahead of Shane Prieto, about 0.3 of a second. But JT, it could have been a little different.
Yeah, it definitely could have. It looked like there was a moment when Shane was on a very hot lap, and looked like he got held up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's putting it fairly lightly. Shane was on, like you said, an awfully quick lap. Alex Mayer was out of the pits and either didn't see Shane coming in his mirrors or just kind of got caught in a bad spot at turn 11. And it sort of scuppered a 20, allegedly, that Shane had going on his predictive. He was hustling that car awfully hard after missing roughly half the session, having to install a new fuel pump, we learned later on. And it meant that he only had a handful of minutes at the end of yesterday's only qualifying session to try and get something done. He very nearly did as well. He really, really hustled that car for that last lap and unfortunately got held up by Alex down there at turn 11 and 12. And it meant that he had to, basically that lap was blown. And because he had run the tires out of their operating window, every lap after that was probably going to be a non-starter as well. I can tell you, Dustin Hodges from Right Turn Racing TV is down in the grid, and we'll go to him now for a quick preview of this morning's F1000 Race 1.
Thank you, guys. Yes, and we did just get a 5-minute warning on the grid. They're getting ready to roll out. We'll get a quick word with the pole sitter. MPT pole position, Alex Mayer. You ready to have some fun with Prieto here?
Hell yeah, it'll be awesome. Kind of like Kershaw, Mid-Ohio. Hopefully we're wheel to wheel all laps.
And we'll have fun. Good luck. Put on a show. So here he is, Shane Prieto. Like you guys said, almost got a pole yesterday. But Shane, how you liking Barber?
Oh, this place is a blast. Fun track and beautiful facility.
And have fun. Give the kid a run, man.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm going to
All right. At third on the grid, it would be Nathan Byrd in that 39. Second weekend in the car and definitely improving over and over and over again. See what Nathan has to say here. Nathan, how you liking F1000?
F1000 is pretty awesome. These cars are fast, they're nimble, and they give you a lot of good seat time.
Good luck. Have some fun. So we've got Charles Livingston, Steve Hamilton, Tim Pierce. Charles, what do you think about Barber?
I love it. It's a roller coaster.
Roller coaster, that's right. See these guys trying to get makeshift umbrellas here. You know, do whatever you can. Keep your drivers cool. So once again, here, Steve Hamilton. Steve, what do you think about Barber?
This is a fantastic facility. It's first class all the way. The track is very challenging and interesting. So I'm looking forward to a great race today.
Well, good luck. Have some fun. That was not probably good for the phone. So, Tim Pierce, what do you think about Barber Motorsports Park, Tim?
I think it's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful track.
That's right, man. Well, have fun. It's looking good. Always good in black. That 81 JDR. See, a nice lineup of cars. Hopefully, we won't get mixed up too much with these Atlantics here. And we'll have some clean racing and throw it back up to you guys. We've got about 3 minutes, and we'll be back on track here live.
Thank you, Dustin. Hope your phone's all right. Good walk down from the grid walk, the false grid anyway, down just at pit exit there. Like Dustin said, we'll go racing here in a couple of moments' time. 8 o'clock is our roll-off time. and we'll get things underway for round 5 of the 2021 championship. It's not all about the battle we had for pole yesterday. Like we mentioned, Mayer and Prieto up there in the top 2. Nathan Byrd starting 3rd, put in a 123.4 yesterday. But back behind him, Charles Livingston, Steve Hamilton, and Tim Pierce set qualifying times yesterday within about 0.3 of each other. So that battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th, behind whatever we have going on with the leaders and Nathan Byrd stuck there in the middle, I think is going to put on a fantastic show this morning. We saw that back at Mid-Ohio, for those of you that joined us then, and it wasn't just about the battle for the lead, although we have a pair of very, very good drivers up the top of F1000 this season. But those back 3, I think, are going to put on a really, really good show, especially around a track like Barber. JT sort of walked us through it yesterday. It's technical. There's lots of elevation changes. The braking zones are short and the corners are long, which doesn't normally make for very good formula racing. But as far as we've seen this weekend anyway, the F1600s yesterday, and even in qualifying a little bit with the F1000s, I think we could see something pretty special this morning.
Absolutely. We do have quite a few good corners here where you can really follow a car through. And there are quite a few good overtaking possibilities, especially turn 5. That's just a classic underbraking area where we will see a lot of good jostling for position. Sometimes you can do it into 7, maybe into 11, or maybe the entry of turn 14, trying to dive to the inside before the final corner. It's pretty easy to follow cars around here with the nature of the track, and it's great because it really leads to close racing. So we're in for a lot of good stuff today.
I'm very, very much looking forward to this. Barber, it may not be one of my favorite tracks to drive, at least on the sim racing side that all of us are a little more familiar with, but that's only because it is a driver's track. It is very technical, and to be quick around here requires a lot of commitment. Especially through the high downforce, high load corners like we see around the back of the circuit, turns 11, 12, 13, really all the way around to the start-finish line. Let's go back to Mid-Ohio Race 2. We saw the battle between Alex Mayer and Shane Prieto that sort of wound up with a little fade from Alex. That Shane had his best run of the day and eventually was not able to complete a move on Alex. And we got a full course yellow that ended up ending the race. And Shane was left, I think, a little frustrated. We go yesterday to qualifying. Shane has a lap balked by Alex Mayer coming out of the pit lane. Not intentional, but nonetheless, Shane wound up in a situation where, again, he couldn't complete a run he was on to try and pick up a pole position from Alex Mayer. So we come to race 1 at Barber, with the 2 of them starting on the front row alone in the F1000s, right? Because there'll be some distance behind the Formula Atlantics. There's clear track ahead of both of them. Alex Mayer will start on the inside. Shane Prieto is going to start on the outside. And at a moment where we know Shane has good pace over Alex, where he had the potential to go quicker than Alex did yesterday in qualifying and pick up that pole position, I wonder if we see a little extra aggression here from Shane Prieto in a move where maybe he would normally back out on the outside of, let's say, turn number 1 or the outside of turn 2 or even try a move around the outside of 5. Maybe Shane hangs tough this time and forces Alex to give him a little bit of racing room and tries to get that move done early. I think that Furman is going to be awfully, awfully quick this morning. We see him now working through turn number 5. This is the F1000 category here. See him off in the distance there, just behind the iconic spider here at Barber. But it'll be interesting to see how Shane Prieto plays these first couple of laps around Barber and really tries to make a run at Alex Mayer. Nathan Byrd there to pick up the pieces if anything happens between our top 2 and that number 39, Arrive Drive Motorsports. And thanks to Arrive Drive and Dustin and everybody down there in the paddock for their support in allowing DriversEye to be part of the North American Formula 1000 Championship. Thanks also to Kavana Rum, who reminds you to celebrate every moment, to Right Turn Racing TV, and of course to EPCUSA.com, the presenting sponsor of the 2021 North American Formula 1000 Championship. The F1000 cars working their way into the turn 11 and 12 left and right flick that rides up over the crest. The Formula Atlantics, about 20 seconds ahead of them, will come get their start here in a few moments' time. We'll put that to one side, unless it becomes an issue with regards to full course yellows or anything like that. But we pick up Alex Mayer on the run through turn 13. The Atlantics get their start just in front of me here. And in a few moments' time, we will pick up old Alex Mayer and old Shane Prieto on the front row in the 77 and number 43 cars, respectively. I look to my right. They come out of the final corner, and we'll do so here in a few moments' time on your screen. There they are. It's a beautiful formation. Our 6 cars this week in an F1000. It's a good jump off the front, 4 wide behind Alex and Shane.
Wow.
Alex has got the run down into turn number 1. Shane is just off to his right. He's going to hang with him. He's hanging with him. Alex gets a little loose on the inside. Shane is still to his right-hand side. And as we get to the apex at turn 2, side by side, lap 1, Alex Mayer on the left, Shane Prieto on the right. They ride up over the crest at turn number 3. Alex is still not back to the apex at 4. He's got just a little bit of clear track. Prieto on the brakes into turn number 5. Can't get a move done. He falls in behind Alex Mayer. So for the first time, we go single file. Lap 1 of the F1000s. Mayer leads Prieto, then Byrd. Hamilton's got the jump on Tim Pierce, and Charles Livingston has fallen back from P4 into P6. So all change in the mid-pack of the F1000s. And once they come up to the backside of the circuit, I'll be able to pick them up out the window again, and we'll get them into turn 11. JT, frantic, but good commitment from Shane Prieto on lap 1.
Absolutely, you had your answer right there. I mean, there was room to go too wide there, and he stuck it in there. He tried to keep it, exiting 3 into 4, so he could challenge in 5. It just wasn't enough there through the climb through 4. But that start was fantastic. Unfortunately, Charles Livingston falling back a bit due to being caught out. But I mean, Hamilton and Pierce, great start.
It was. Alex has completed lap 1 here, opens up a little bit of a gap ahead of Shane Prieto. As I go back to our live timing instead of the grid, I can tell you the gap is 1.2 seconds, and Byrd is actually kind of hanging with those lead two. It was a slow first lap there from the 2 leaders, from everybody really, as they get their tires up to temperature, their brakes up to temperature, get everything into that working condition. Byrd is doing well to hang with the back of Shane, actually. And even Steve Hamilton in that white number 93 JDR is making a good escape from Tim Pierce and Charles Livingston for P4. We had a good comment on Steve Hamilton after practice 2 on Friday. He put that car into 3rd. It's a really, really good result for Steve. He wasn't able to quite get it done in qualifying yesterday, but he's jumped right at it this morning in race 1 and hauled himself up into P4. So good work there for Steve. Tim Pierce and Charles Livingston rounding out the field 5th and 6th. I wonder here if now the move for Shane is to just kind of sit behind Alex here and let Alex work the tires out of their operating window. It seemed yesterday in qualifying like Alex really struggled to make that car work. I don't know if it was a tire issue, if it was just a setup and balance issue, but it really seemed like Shane pushing the Furman sort of had the edge over Alex in that JDR chassis. And I do just wonder a little bit if Shane's content to ride there and let Alex sort of run away out in front of him. A little quicker that last time around, a 124.822. And that margin is right on a second, which I think will kind of be the sweet spot for Shane Prieto in that number 43. Nathan Byrd kind of hanging with them now, just dropping off the pack. Maybe a little bit, 2.3 seconds from Prieto back to Byrd. And as I look to my left here, cresting, and on your screen there at turn 4, goes Steve Hamilton, goes Tim Pierce, and then goes Charles Livingston. Now, one of the dynamics we get in this Formula 1000 and Atlantic sort of split or shared track time is the idea of the slower Formula Atlantics coming back to the front of the F1000 cars. I can tell you that Robert Wright, Austin Hill, Bob Corliss, 6th, 7th, and 8th overall, are all still running in the 1-minute 30s in their Formula Atlantic cars. And actually, we look at Alex Mayer coming into turn 11 here. He's going to catch the back of this Atlantic field here with just 2 and a bit laps under his belt, and this is going to totally change the dynamic of the race because this is a really tricky passing zone here. We can jump on board with Alex Mayer and watch him negotiate the back of the Atlantic's field if that onboard feed is still with us. Oh, it's pointed up. It's just got bumped on the grid there. Thank you, Tanner, for that. So they've jumped the first of the Atlantics. That's the number 5 of Robert Wright. Mayer and Prieto have both gotten by. And we'll pick him up here on the exit of that long right-hander turns 2 and 3. Prieto swings it out wide right in Mayer's wheel tracks and really kind of closes up under braking for turn number 5. Gets a good launch out of turn 6. They're going to catch the next of the Atlantics. That'll be Austin Hill, one of the rookies in the number 8, just up ahead of Alex Mayer. I think they'll be down at turn 8 by now, turn 7 and 8 by now. So to reset here, Mayer and Prieto, first and second. Byrd back in P3. Hamilton and Pierce. That margin actually hasn't stayed together like we thought it might. We jump on board with Nathan Byrd here. This is that roller coaster section down at turn number 8. So while we'll put the lead battle to one side and sort of jump on board here and get a view of what this Barber Motorsports Park facility is like, lots of, well, nothing but praise really being sung for the facility here at Barber, both the track layout, and the facilities as a whole really is top notch, and to have the F1000s here for the first time, I think is a real treat for these guys. I'll tell you what, that car doesn't look terribly happy. I don't know if that's a track temperature issue or a track cleanliness issue, JT, but Nathan Byrd doesn't look terribly comfortable on board that JDR chassis.
Well, as you know, we've touched on, these are tire allocations for the weekend sort of deal. So he might be running the same tires he did qualifying yesterday. This is also the first race of the morning, so grip's probably going to be at the lowest it's going to be for the day. So these first opening laps, is just going to be trying to settle down, build up the tires, build up confidence in the car. So that's probably why we see these Formula 1000s catching up to the Atlantics so quickly. Is just things trying to get settled on the track.
It's a good point, JT, about this being the first race of the weekend. It's good to have the sweepers out first thing in the morning, and of course Barber does that, but it's really not a substitute for race cars running around in anger, and unfortunately what it leads to is a little bit of track sweeping duty for whatever category ends up on track first for the morning. In this case, the roulette happens to fall to the Atlantics and the F1000s for our race 1. And I think it'll probably come back to these guys, like you mentioned. Ooh, really kind of leads off the throttle there at the bottom of turn 12. It's a big compression there, and if the setup isn't exactly right, you can bottom the car out. But it also loads the car and the tires up at a point that's still really high speed, where you don't have the car going straight, sort of swinging it back to the right at the apex at 12. And if you're not fully comfortable in the car or totally familiar with Barber, you don't have a bunch of laps here, that's one of the spots that can really catch a driver out. We pick up the lead battle again, cresting the hill at turn 6. So it's an Atlantic first. That's Bob Corliss in the number 17. Then Alex Mayer in that 77, and Shane Prieto still sitting just 1.2 seconds behind him. So he's managing that gap well, right in that 1 to 1.2 second range. And like I said, I think that's where he's just happy to sit for a while. Let Alex do the hard work out in front. Run the tires off it this morning, if that's going to be what it is. And let Shane just sort of sit there and conserve his resources. JT mentioned the tire allocation. It's 2 sets of tires from qualifying onwards, so you can run practice on whatever tires you have, usually an old set from the previous weekend. And then first thing on Saturday for qualifying, smack a set of new tires on there, maybe 2 sets of new tires on there if you're going to scuff them in, and then allocate for race 1 and race 2. Now, this is a high tire wear circuit. It's a high loading circuit. And, of course, for the driver, it's a high commitment circuit. But that means you've really got to be judicious as to how many laps you put on the tires. If anything here, I wouldn't be surprised if Shane has a little advantage, having had only really half a qualifying session yesterday to turn some laps. Mayer jumps Bob Corliss in that number 17 Formula Atlantic on the run down at turn 2. Prieto has not gotten by. And this has allowed Alex Mayer a little bit of clean air on the front of that number 77 JDR, while Prieto gets stuck in behind on the run through turns 7 and 8. And this could hand Alex a fair bit of a margin here if Shane's not careful.
Absolutely. Traffic's going to play a crucial role at this point, where we need to see Shane using traffic to an advantage. If the traffic's going to be holding up Alex, Shane needs to pounce. If Alex is getting through traffic, Shane's got to catch up. He's got to tuck in right behind, and he's got to clear traffic right away, or he's going to lose time massively to Alex.
Yeah, unfortunately, JT, it's gone exactly the opposite way to what you just described there, where Alex got by at a really opportune time early on in the lap. Shane has been stuck in behind, and, you know, it's interesting. I don't know if Alex was being conservative early. His quickest lap is at 22.6. Shane's is at 22.8, but he's sitting behind that Atlantic and only done a 23.9 last time around. So I don't know if Shane just doesn't want to push the tires that hard behind Bob Corliss in that number 17, or if he's really picking up that much dirty air. I wouldn't be shocked if it's the latter, but he's losing a lot of time to Alex here. He lost a second that last time around. I bet that margin is up to closer to 3 seconds as they make their run under the bridge into turns 7 and 8. Here the gearbox there through the downshifts on the way into turn 7. It's a dab of the brakes into the right-hander, and then you really jump on the brakes up over the curb at turn sort of 7A, I think they call it, and then down through the right-hander at turn 8.
A little bit further back in the field, both Hamilton and Pierce at their fastest laps. Hamilton at a 25.6, Pierce just under 26.9. So we can see the cars are starting to come alive a bit.
Just managing our cameras here at the moment. I think we may have lost that Byrd on board, but we'll take a look and see if we can get that back. I think we have an onboard with the number 81 of Tim Pierce, though, who I think could give us a little ride here. We do have Nathan Byrd. There we go. So Byrd is stuck in behind Robert Wright. That's one of the Formula Atlantics. And if he's not decisive in traffic, he jumps up to the inside here. And I was just going to make the point, I think he's going to have to do something because Steve Hamilton is really starting to close up to the back of that number 39 of Nathan Byrd. So that white number 93 EPC USA car has closed that margin down the last time to just about 2.5 seconds. Bird's gotten through that number 5, but he's now stuck in behind the number 8 of Austin Hill. Meanwhile, Steve Hamilton is closing up to the back of the number 5. And like I said, if Byrd isn't decisive here, this is going to allow that number 93 right back into this mix and I think give Byrd a little bit of a headache.
Well, despite traffic, Bird's had his fastest lap at a 25.7, so it wasn't held up too much there. Or Hamilton running almost identical time with no traffic, so now is the time to push and pull away from Hamilton. Bird's just gotta dig in here and pedal to the metal.
Absolutely right. Speaking of pedal to the metal, Alex Mayer, fastest lap of the session for the F1000s, a 122.384. Prieto's quickest lap at 122.817. So the track is starting to come alive a little bit here. I'm not sure we're going to get into the 21s before things are done this morning as the temperatures come up. Of course, the tires are going to wear more, and I think we're going to get out of the sweet spot on these Hoosier tires. Almost certainly the hard compound being run for the most part. We look back to the screen, Nathan Byrd has gotten clear of the Formula Atlantic traffic, but there's a big gaggle of cars behind him. And as I peek up out the window here at the exit of turn 4, that gaggle of cars includes the number 74 Formula Atlantic. The 8 is in there, the 5 is in there. There's another red Atlantic, and then Steve Hamilton now has 4 Formula Atlantic cars between himself and Nathan Byrd. So whereas that margin between P3 and P4 was down to about 2.5 seconds, it's gone out pretty substantially now as a result of all that traffic. Now, there's a couple of odd dynamics at play here because it's not just Nathan Byrd running away from the mid-pack of the Formula Atlantics. I think the Formula Atlantic leader, Dudley Fleck, is in there as well, and he'll be closing up with Larry Howard behind him onto the back of Nathan Byrd. So he'll have to keep an eye on his mirrors, and with those two having already gone past Steve Hamilton in the white number 93, he'll be clear of that traffic and sort of follow them through up to the back of the car he's chasing for the third spot on the podium in F1000. Prieto, meanwhile, not able to do anything with that number 17 of Bob Corliss. Now, if you think back to Mid-Ohio, I'm not sure. It was definitely Bob in the first race. I'm not sure if that was the car in the second race that sort of dealt Alex his kryptonite, if you will, and let Shane stick it with him throughout the race. It's sort of intriguing that it's now wound up in the same scenario, but Alex has gotten a bye, whereas Shane is the one stuck in behind the number 17 Swift chassis of Corliss. So Byrd has now gotten passed by the two Formula Atlantic leaders, and the margin back to Hamilton has gone out to, that's a big number. That 15-minute number is not correct, but out the window, that's got to be at least 5 to 7 seconds, something like that. And if anything, it's left Steve now sort of vulnerable behind him to the number 81 of Tim Pierce. If we have that number 81 on board, I think it's a good time to jump to it because there's some things going on just up ahead of him. Indeed, we do. So we go down to turn 7 and 8, and that car immediately ahead of him will be one of the Pro Mazda chassis running in Atlantics. It's Austin Hill. Steve Hamilton has already gone through this time around. So what you see on the left the left of the screen with timing will update when they come past start finish the next time. But Tim is going to have to get by here, and he does. The outside of turn 11. That's a tough old place to try and pass the Formula Atlantic. But he rides up over the crest at turn 12 and sets his sights on that white JDR chassis up ahead of him in the 93 is Steve Hamilton. Robert Wright is the car ahead of the two of them. I don't think he'll be dealing a whole bunch of aero wash to the nose cone of Steve at the moment. Be interesting to stick with this battle. This is for P4, let's remember, in Formula 1000. Charles Livingston running back there, P6 at the moment. I'll tell you the other thing I see, JT, at the minute. Go ahead.
I was going to say, back up front, you still have that 4-second gap between Mayer and Prieto. However, Bob Corliss is going a bit faster now and is reeling in Alex Mayer. So we're going to see
exactly the point I was going to make.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Bob Corliss is going to. Oh, they come across the line.
Move's
very
being done,
close
JT.
together.
The move's done into turn 1. We're going to pick it up on a camera. Well, one of these cameras here in just a second. But as you were talking, sorry to cut you off, I looked to my left, and Bob Corliss shot up the inside of the 77 of Alex Mayer. And there it is. That silver and red Formula Atlantic now is going to drop all that aero wash onto the front of that 77 JDR chassis. And with him likely to hold up Alex Mayer at least for the next couple of corners here, like you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this is Prieto's opportunity to pounce. Granted, it's from 4 seconds behind, but if Shane can hustle those tires, and he's kept them in a good operating window for the last couple of laps, this is where he can really start to execute, push a little harder as we get a couple of minutes. Well, we're a couple minutes deeper into the race, and I think we've got sort of 7 or 8 minutes until we get a checkered flag here. So if he's going to do it, this is the time for Prieto to start making moves.
All right, and we still have a battle going on for 4th right now. Nathan Byrd put in quite a few low 24 laps, was able to gap away from Hamilton. Pierce, meanwhile, has been able to start to reel in Hamilton, so we only have a 3-second gap there. Both cars setting their fastest laps right now, just trying to deal with the Atlantics.
That's been a couple of good laps from Pierce there, trying to catch up to the back of Hamilton. We rode on board with him a little bit earlier and sort of followed that progress as we see the gap from Mayer to Prieto now, just holding steady there. 3.8 seconds, a 123.5 from Mayer and a 23 flat from Prieto. So close in about a half a second. Further back, like you mentioned, Hamilton leads Pierce by 2.7. So it's a pretty even split amongst the back of the F1000 field at the moment. Little disappointed that that battle hasn't materialized like we thought it might. But it's been sort of an ebb and flow this morning, JT. The gap's gone out. You get into a little bit of traffic, and all of a sudden things start to shrink back together. And now as we start to close in on a checkered flag of race 1, that is what we are more likely to see, that sort of compression of things back to the end where these drivers know if they're going to do something and try and pick up a couple of points or maybe jump up onto the back of a podium, now's the time to make that happen. Have we lost Prieto?
I don't believe so. I believe Still looking about 3.5 seconds back from Alex.
No, Alex comes across the line, and I don't see Shane Prieto off to the right here. I think something's happened to Shane Prieto. Where has the number 43 Furman gone? I don't see any cars in the pit lane either, so I don't think that will have been the answer. Remember, they replaced a fuel pump at the start of qualifying yesterday, missed about half the session. There he is, a 141.2 from Shane Prieto. And the gap to Alex Mayer has ballooned. What on earth has happened to that number 43? There must have been a spin or an off track somewhere. I don't know if he was pushing to try and make up the margin back up to that 77 or what the issue was, but in any case, it means that what we were hoping for, what the lead battle that was developing for Mayer and Prieto as we got closer to a checkered flag is now basically nothing. That battle is completely evaporated. And it means that Mayer's margin is 22 seconds. Oh, there's a shock cover missing off of one of the Formula Atlantics just coming through start-finish here. That shock panel cover around the, just behind the nose cone, I think that was on the number 8 of Austin Hill, the Pro Mazda chassis with the Atlantic engine. I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't see any debris flags out on circuit or any surface flags, so whatever it is, I hope has just sort of kicked itself to the side of the circuit. Margin between Hamilton and Pierce has gone out as well, JT. It's now 6.8 seconds. After a couple of slightly pedestrian laps from the number 81 of Tim Pierce. So Hamilton's done well, actually. A 25 flat last time around. He's only 2.3, well, it's 2.3 off the back of Robert Wright, one of the Atlantics. It's a little further back from Nathan Byrd, about 12 seconds further. We'll jump back on board that number 81 of Tim Pierce. And you can hear him just breathe the throttle there at turn 9 and 10. Some of the onboard we had yesterday from Alex Mayer in qualifying had Alex pretty much flat out through 9 and 10 and really just a breathe of the throttle into the left-hander back there at turn 11. See a little less confidence in that number 81 of Tim Pierce, but I don't think we can stress enough. Laps of this Barber Motorsports Park circuit take commitment, and it's not just about being comfortable in the car. It's about knowing that when you tip it in and barely breathe the throttle at 140 miles an hour, that car is going to stick. It's only an 800-pound car, but these tires aren't terribly wide, especially on the front. And you've got to be certain that when you turn into a blind corner, let's say at turn 7, or you decide to run up the hill flat through 9 and 10, that the car's not going to step out at you, that the balance is exactly right, that the tires aren't overheated and sliding around all over the place. And Mayer can do it, and we think Prieto can do it. He certainly did yesterday. But you don't have a field full of that. You know, there are still gentlemen drivers here who love racing fast open-wheel Formula cars, who love racing affordable Formula cars. And that's exactly what the F1000 series provides. But it's so interesting to see the difference between the two guys at the front of the field and some of the guys a little deeper in the pack that are just don't have that confidence or that balance in the car that allows them to push the way the leaders do. Still really quick. Let's make that point, too. Even to breathe of the throttle around some of these corners at Barber, they're still really hustling.
Yeah, everyone's going to have different confidence levels, and it's just going to be trying to get that feel, that connection with the car every lap, just trying to, work your way through. As we see Charles Livingston set his fastest lap at a 25.1.
That's a good lap from Charles, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's quicker than Tim Pierce has gone up ahead, and not that much slower than Steve Hamilton has gone for his quickest lap in P4. So, fair play to Charles, actually. He's done well just to sort of ride, get the experience. Remember, this is F1000's first ever visit to Barber Motorsports Park. Never been here before, any of these guys. And nothing but praise. And I'm hopeful that the series will return, because I'd love to come back here for one. But I know a lot of these drivers would as well. Charles has done, I think, the right thing in just letting himself get up to speed, get comfortable with the car and with the track. And as he pushes further and further, okay, let's say you decide to sort of bunt race 1, you bring the car home. Now when you get race 2, underway a little later this afternoon, 1 o'clock local time, you can really start swinging for the fences once everything is bunched back up at our second green flag of the day. And that's a good way to play this for Charles. And never mind Steve Hamilton and Tim Pierce, who are doing well for themselves. 4.3 seconds is that margin, by the way, in the battle for fourth. Hamilton comes across the line in 124.9. JT, Tim Pierce crosses the line and does a
24.9.
There you go. Blow for blow between
running,
93 and 81.
A little bit further back up, Shane Prieto, still running quick, so it doesn't look like he has any sort of current issue. I think it was just maybe a mistake on track.
Yeah,
he's been able to pull away from Byrd a bit, so we're seeing that battle for second fizzle out as well. But yeah, Tim Pierce, is running, fastest lap there of the day. So he's working hard, trying to dig in and, pull in bit by bit on Hamilton there.
There is so much traffic ahead of Alex Mayer right now. There are so many Formula Atlantics. He's just lapped the 33 of Charles Livingston, but there's about 4 cars up ahead of him. He's got 2 of them on the run into, this is that battle. Look at that. Atlantic's littering the track with the leader in the Formula 1000s trying to push through. Now, some of that will be the lead Atlantic traffic that has come through to lap the 77 of Alex Mayer. Remember how much power and how much grip those Atlantics have. Also remember how much more they're spending than the Formula 1000 guys are. But the Alex Mayer there just had to sort of sit in behind, pick his way through that traffic on the straightaway while the Atlantic leaders ran out ahead of him and sort of dealt with their own lead battle. Keep an eye on the 93 and the 81 again this time around. Go ahead, JT.
He's got to be careful because the Atlantics ahead of him, Chris Ash and Kirk Foster, are battling pretty well right now. But if they make a slight mistake, Alex can get caught up in that. And, he's got a good 30-second lead over Prieto right now. So he just needs to kind of tuck back right now, conserve, hang back, and just get to the end.
Yeah, well, and we are getting close to that end, JT. We've just taken the white flag. The Formula Atlantic leader is the number 74. He'll have taken that white flag just a couple of moments ago. Alex Mayer came through and saw it for the first time. It's the only time he'll see the white flag, of course. The next time these guys come around, it will be the end of our race 1 of of the Barber Historics weekend, round 5 of the 2021 championship. So I keep an eye out to my right for the Atlantics leader, which is just changed on the last lap? Not sure what's happened there. Somebody's been docked a lap, I think. So there's a waved white flag. Who are we picking up?
Yeah, the 66.
Intrigued by what's happening here, both on timing and out the starter stand. Very odd. Tim Pierce takes the white flag. I think this will be our Atlantics leader. No, still no.
Pierce's fastest lap, but it's
happening out the window.
10th and a half slower than Hamilton, though, so there's still a good 4-second gap there. He just needs to stick with it, just in case Hamilton has an issue.
I think we lost the Atlantics leader on the last lap, I think is what's happened here. I can't make heads or tails of what I'm seeing on timing because I haven't been engaged in that Formula Atlantic battle that leads the overall timing screen at the moment, but nobody can seem to find the leader. It's Richard Zober looking for that number 66 has come across the line. He should take the checkered flag, but the poor starter has been standing here with a checkered flag in her hand for what seems like 2 minutes now, which means we'll have completed at least an extra lap. There we go. There's a checkered flag. So we've already gone through and we will be finishing the final lap now again. I think the 39 has come through to take a checkered flag. Behind that 66. So let's take a look for Alex Mayer now in the number 77. That will be the conclusion of our Formula 1000 race this morning. Here comes Steve Hamilton. That'll solidify the battle for P4 up ahead of Tim Pierce in the number 81. So just not enough time for Tim Pierce to do anything with Steve Hamilton towards the end of the race. Still no sign of Alex Mayer. The margin is pretty substantial. Oh, here comes Alex Mayer. Race 1 of the Barber Historics weekend, North American Formula 1000 Championship goes to Alex Mayer in the number 77 JDR. Shane Prieto, the number 43, about 20 seconds behind. We look to our right. We'll come home to claim P2 on the podium. And Nathan Byrd in the number 39 Arrive Drive Motorsports JDR to round out our podium in P3. There goes Shane. Congratulations to him. And congratulations to Nathan Byrd in the 39 as well. So, to reset after that, well, I don't really know what happened. Like I said, I think we lost the Atlantics leader on the last lap. And after he had taken the white flag, the second place car came back around and all of a sudden was displayed as the leader, but hadn't taken a checkered flag yet because they were looking for the leading car that just simply didn't exist anymore. That was Dudley Fleck, for what that was worth, the number 74. But in any case, we pivot back to the F1000s here. We're going to have our podium ceremonies live on DriverSeye Live here in a couple of minutes' time after we finish our cool-down laps. Alex Mayer in the number 77, 5 for 5 in 2021. Again, it wasn't always easy, but once he got clear of traffic, Prieto started slipping off the rear diffuser of that number 77, and then eventually Prieto made a mistake, and then it really was all over for that 43 of Shane. Just way too far back to be able to do anything as the race progressed. So 77-43, first and second. Nathan Byrd, the number 39, in third. Steve Hamilton finishes P4 and 8th overall. It's a good showing for these F1000s. Not just in terms of pace. We know that's there. We know these cars are quick when they're pushed, but, man, for reliability as well. Those 1,000cc superbike engines producing the best sounds in motorsports, as old Dustin likes to say. I think proving to be of some value today. Mayer coming home 4th, Prieto 6th, Byrd 7th, and Hamilton 8th overall. Tim Pierce 5th in F1000, 9th overall, and the number 33 of Charles Livingston, P11 overall, P6 in the Formula 1000s. Fleck, Howard, and Wright are the final Atlantics finishers in 12th, 13th, and 14th. So, we're sending a wrecker and I think a flat toe onto the track to go backwards. We are also sending a loader, which I think has a forklift on the front of it. So are we going to do some barrier repair here? I don't know if we have a trackside camera that can pick up anything that might have happened in our last lap or two, maybe somewhere around turn 13. But it's a lot of recovery equipment that has got to go do some work. And we've already got a compressed schedule today. So let's make that point as well. If you're following along with the whole Barber Historics weekend, we had an incident yesterday that really shuffled things around and has sort of created a little havoc for the Formula Race Promotions ladder. It was very interesting. We got a camera that's a little behind there. I can tell you there are no cars out on track. But anyway, the point is we're supposed to have an F1600 race, and if you were watching on DriverSeye Live yesterday, you're able to follow along with X Kamichis, I think it is, as I heard yesterday for the first time. You were able to follow along over his left shoulder in the F1600 race. P4 for Axe yesterday. It was a really, really good race. I got to watch from start finish here, and of course his onboard feed, and just enjoyed the heck out of it. So you can watch that again today. Initially, that race was supposed to be around 9:30. That race has become an F2000 race. So the F1600s are going to race at noon. The F1000s will race at 1, and then the F1600s will run race 3 immediately after that around 1:35. So it's a chaotic day, all precipitated by what happened yesterday in one of the Formula V categories. It also means we've got a historic sports car enduro to do at some point today as well, in the heat of the afternoon. So my thoughts and prayers to the corner marshals who have to stand out in the sun at about 2 o'clock this afternoon and watch a historic sports car enduro of something like an hour with not a huge grid of cars. So I've done that more than a few times myself, and I can tell you it's not the most entertaining way to spend an afternoon, but race cars are race cars, I guess. So we're holding out here is what we're doing for the Formula 1000 podium. We've got our camera up there at the top of the paddock. And when Dustin Hodges is ready to award the Kavana Cup trophies, we will do just that. No Kavana this morning, of course. Not only is it a little too early for rum, but we've got another race to run today. So a reminder on DriversEye Live, if you've got some time to spare today, I know we've got Formula One happening this morning, and you're free to watch that for a little bit if you'd like. But we're going to have our podium ceremony here for the Formula 1000s. We're going to run F1600s, as far as we know, at noon Central, 1 Eastern. We'll have our onboard from Axe Kamich's, that number 76 Cahill Motorsports F1600. We, as a commentary team and as a production team, will be live at 1 o'clock Central Time, or just before that, about 10 minutes before that. So 12:50 Central Time, 1:50 Eastern Time for the second race of the weekend for the North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com. That'll last our normal half hour, and once that's all said and done, I've got to hustle it down and get an onboard camera thrown into Axe Kamich's again, the number 76, back-to-back races. And that, I'm not sure I'm allowed to commentate, to be honest with you. But it'll run back-to-back with our F1000 race. So we may just have it cut from the podium back over to that onboard for Axe. We'll have to work that a little bit. But invite you to keep an eye on DriversEye Live on both Facebook and YouTube. And ride with Axe a little later this afternoon surrounding our F1000 race, round 6 of the 2021 championship season. Just happy to let the birds chirp for a moment.
So if I'm looking
Worth
at
noting,
the...
go ahead.
I'll just say, if I'm looking at the championship points correctly, Steve Hamilton, coming into this race, was 6 points behind Tim Pierce. I'm not quite sure exactly how much fourth pays out from this race, but we can see that very, very tight battle for third in the championship. And, obviously this is only round 5 of 16, but, it plays a factor every single race as we get closer and closer towards the end.
It does, and let's remember too that the Formula 1000 Championship competitors are able to drop essentially two round results. So it's 4 races they're able to drop from their championship tally. So it's a best 12 out of 16 is essentially the way that this works. We've only had 4 races to this point. Well, 5 as of, I guess, 8:30 this morning. So, in effect, we've already had 4 worst results because there are only 4 results. As we get to the end of the Pittsburgh weekend, we'll have 8 races under our belt, and then we can start talking about dropped results and that sort of thing. But as far as this weekend goes, you mentioned, JT, that the championship battles are closing. It is early, but points are points at this point. That is to say that, every opportunity you have to come and pick up points, and even with 6 cars here this weekend, you have a good chance at picking up points on the guys that aren't here, right? You might be able to pick up, let's say, Steve Hamilton picks up 4th place points this morning. At Pitt, he might be in a field of 10 or 12 cars and only be able to get 9th or 10th place points. So these weekends where you can really go out and make hay with your points tally, these are really, really good weekends for guys like Steve Hamilton, guys like Tim Pierce that aren't going to challenge for wins every weekend, but nevertheless are season-long competitors. This is their opportunity to make up ground in the standings.
Absolutely, and that just speaks to what's so great about this series is it's being cost effective. I mean, these are almost entry level formula cars, and not only are they extremely quick, pretty reliable, they're cost effective to run. The championship, you don't have to run every single round, and you can still be in the thick of it by the end, rounds 15 and 16. So it's just fantastic.
Dustin Hodges told us during free practice too at Mid Ohio when he joined me up in the booth there that you can go out and get a race-ready chassis in the Formula 1000 Championship for $35,000. They are out there for sale. I think we're ready to do the thing.
Prieto, Charles Livingston, Steve Hamilton, where are you?
Where are you indeed? But you can go get one of these chassis, stick 1,000cc, Suzuki engine in the back of it off of a superbike, and be ready to go. And the community is such that you're not just going to be left for dead because you have no experience. There's a whole paddock of drivers that are just happy to have people to race against. They recognize the value that F1000 provides them and that the Championship Series provides them. And for them and for their money, they'd rather have a field full of cars that, they can go race against and guys that are competitive and have that same competitive fire that they do. They'll lend a hand. They'll share tools and parts and give guys whatever they need to get themselves up to speed and to be competitive in the North American Formula 1000 Championship. And you see guys like Steve Hamilton. He owns EPC and EPCUSA.com. He is, the title sponsor of the F1000 Championship, and he's here because he loves to race. And he's just as helpful as any of the guys. Alex Mayer, just as helpful as any of the other guys in the paddock. Shane Prieto, the same deal. It's a really good community up there. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of over the last 2 race weekends at Mid Ohio and here again at Barber. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we are headed to Pittsburgh in a couple of weeks' time. June 16th through the 18th, I believe, is the weekend. Sorry, 18th through the 20th. To what I think is the most underrated track in the country. We, I think, can send it to Dustin Hodges to award the Kavana Cup trophies for Race 1 from Barber Motorsports Park.
All right, guys, let's kick off our round 5 podium. Those of you watching live, thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching all weekend long as we got our live stream with in-car cameras at North End F1000 and at NorthEndF1000.com. Once again, round 5 here from Barber. Great racing. We're going to kick off and get some trophies away. These beautiful Kavana Cups, as they are gorgeous and they're huge. Thanks to Kavana now for keeping Sport Series. And once again, let's kick this off. Let's get our 3rd place finisher to take his spot up on the podium. And it is number 39, Nathan Byrd. Hang on to that for me. Okay. And let's get our 2nd place finisher to take a step up there. It is 43, Shane Prieto. And in the top spot, defending champion, 77, Alex Mayer. Great race, guys. Congratulations. Nate, tell us about your weekend, buddy. How'd it go?
Chris Ronson will be your pole there in the 2010 Autograph LM09 and then another Autograph LM09 2013 model. And that belongs to Dominic Cantalupo. And we have the number 90 Henry Payne in 5th and the 1989 90 Bryce Ford Cody Ellsworth car in the 2016. That's the 2016 91 Cup Porsche. Number 12 inside that car. We have Santa Fe in the number 16 car. They were on the Podium incidentally in Godsworth. Payne in the 1989 Lola T8990. Rafael Pond, Alejandro Shawan was on the Podium as well yesterday. 2017 Porsche 991 Cup car. Henry Payne.
Congratulations again. So you had a little off, went mowed some grass. I think our 2nd place finisher has a story about that as well. Shane Prieto, want to tell us about how your race went there, man?
Yeah, no, it was an awesome start. That was a lot of fun going through 1 and 2 and part of 3 side by side with Alex there. The tires were a little cold, so I was a little nervous, but we both hung it in there, kept it safe. Pretty good race at Atlantic. Alex got by him, and then I couldn't get it. And then I spun out in 7, the drop in front of the museum. Just got a little wide and touched the grass, and it went. So just finished the race on the 2nd. Fun time. Thank you.
Congratulations, man. So So once again, your winner, Alex Mayer. How'd it go out there, man? You stay out of the Atlantic way?
Yeah, I try to stay out of the way, or maybe it all depends on who you talk to. But yeah, Shane had a really good start. We were side by side. Owners. It was pretty awesome. I was hoping we could almost do a whole lap side by side like that, and we gave each other the room. Maybe this afternoon. No, but after went from Shane a little bit, it started to run down the and tried to just hang with them and see if I could keep up. So, yeah, but thanks to all the sponsors. It's been a great warm up.
Just constant mic problems. I don't know what. I think it's because you guys put too much champagne in them. Is the problem. So, but we're gonna get one more guy to come up there and join you. It is the Sunoco Hard Charger Award, and it is from 5th to 4th, 93, Steve Hamilton.
All right, well, we'll pick that up. Steve Hamilton, unfortunately, just started getting cut off there. Yeah, not sure what's going on there. Well, we'll put that to one side. We are up in the paddock there, and remember that this is a spectator weekend as well for the HSR, for the Barber Historic. So the cell loading is a little bit higher than it otherwise would be for what we use here at DriversEye Live, but we'll round things out for race one here at the moment. We've got some business to take care of headed into the afternoon. Anyway, a reminder, you can follow along with more action from the F1600 Championship Series with X Camichas. His onboard camera a little later this afternoon, 12 o'clock Central Time. We'll have that on DriversEye Live. 1 o'clock, we'll go live for race 2, round 6 of the 2021 North American F1000 Championship presented by EPCUSA.com. And then one more race for the F1600 onboard after that. My thanks to JT Tammy, who joined me this morning, and we'll be back for race 2. Tanner Johnson up in the Great White North joined us as a producer, and myself, Brendan Kazmarek, on the mic here at Barber. Thanks to Kavana Rum, who reminds you to celebrate every moment, EPCUSA.com and Right Turn Racing TV for their support. And we'll just go ahead and well, I think we got it back here, didn't we? Let's listen to Steve and we'll round things out.
GT Modern, Historic, Untitled, GT Classic, and Vintage. Chris Ronson in the 54, and Dominic and Kent Deliver, of course, those are the prototype cars. GT Modern car, race 4, number 12.
Thank you. Congratulations again at Hard Charger Award. Guys, we're not going to do champagne since you have to race in about 4 hours. I didn't think that would be good for the suits. So we'll do that.
All right, yeah, we'll put that to one side there. So Kavana, Right Turn Racing TV, and of course EPCUSA.com helping make this reality this weekend. We'll be back a little later this afternoon, 12:50 Central Time, 1:50 Eastern Time for round 6 of the 2021 North American Formula 1000 Championship presented by EPC. Live on DriversEye Live for JT and Tanner, I'm Brendan Kazmarek. See you in a couple of hours' time from Barber Motorsports Park.